Thanks so much for joining us today. We're just going to wait a few more minutes till just give a couple more people a chance to join on, and then we'll get started.
People who were on an earlier call that we had in Saskatchewan. So the Canadian Network for Arts and Learning had there was sort of some synchronicity. We were working on a project funded by the Canada Council to develop digital strategy for the sector of arts and learning. And this happened, all this pandemic, and everybody suddenly wanted to go on Zoom. And well, right in the middle of our project, we thought what we should do then is to address what's going on right now. And we aren't able to have, we were going to come to each region with an in-person hub or meeting. Well, that's not possible. But we've instead had already one series of 10 of these consultations across the country, and now we're starting another one. When we talked to people back in March, the beginning of March even, it was also new, and everyone was kind of in shock and awe, and now that we're going back talking to people again, we're just trying to find out what is the picture like for you now, and what are your ideas on what's going to be happening. I want to so welcome, and I look forward to a great conversation. I want to introduce our staff. You've met Jennifer already, of course. Caitlin Bois, I saw you. There's Caitlin. Caitlin is our Caitlin, it's called database coordinator. I know I always want to say, why do we say database? I guess that's technical, but anyway, Caitlin is the one who creates the map of arts and learning, and she's the one who does all of our difficult technical work. Nisa, where are you? Nisa Sills? There's Nisa, and Nisa is the researcher. So as with the previous series of conversations, Nisa will write a report on the feedback we get from you. And by the way, the previous report is available on our website, the report from the previous series, and that together with this one we will be using for some advocacy and trying to find ways of being useful to the sector. So perhaps that's enough of an introduction. I'm looking forward to the conversation. And we have some questions to guide the conversation. You can talk about anything you want, but we have some thoughts of where we can go with it. And so I'll turn it back over to Jennifer, who's going to do a round the table and get us started with our conversation.
Great, thank you, Larry. So just a few housekeeping comments here. Most of you are very familiar with Zoom by now, I'm assuming, or if not, just first off, we are recording the conversation and we will be publishing it on our website for those who weren't able to join us today, or if you wanted to go back and kind of revisit what was said today. So you'll be able to do that, but just do keep in mind that this is being recorded. Also, if you did not want to take part in the conversation, and of course we hope most will, but if you just want to listen in, feel free to do that. You can turn off your video, and then we'll know not to call on you. And speaking of calling on you, once we get going, in the participants tab, you can see at the bottom, there is participants, a thing that says participants. So if you click on that, at the bottom on that menu, there's an option to raise hand. So once we get going in the questions, and if you'd like to comment, just virtually raise your hand. And if you're unable to do that, just kind of wave and I'll know to call on you. And also there's the chat. Someone has already using the chat. So you can either message me privately, or you can comment on something that somebody has said if you didn't want to say it. But we do feel free to use the chat. You can also send someone else a private message if you wanted to follow up with something that somebody else has said, or ask for somebody's email to follow up afterwards, etc. Please do go ahead. And also, if you're not speaking, try to keep yourself muted, just to kind of cut back on background noise there. And hopefully once you get talking, you'll be able to unmute yourself. I can also help if you're having trouble with that. And if you don't have video, again, just let me know and I can call on you, and you can just speak without the video. That's fine too. I'm also going to be launching a couple of polls throughout this discussion, and that's just to get some quantifiable data. And just to let you know, these polls are completely confidential, so please do feel free to take part. So good. We will, just to start off the discussion, I guess we'll just go around the room and say who's here. You've met us. So again, if you want to take part, please do enable your video. But so we'll start off, if you just say your name, your kind of your title, and if you work for an organization, that as well. So we'll start off with Krista.
I'm Christy Schwager from the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery. I am the education coordinator, but I seem to be doing a lot of communication right now.
Great, thank you. And Krista?
I'm the head of the Conservatory of Performing Arts in Regina, and so we're working on plans for how we're going to put private lessons back together in the fall, and group programs and camps over the summer.
Right. Thank you. Let's see. Mackenzie Art Gallery. Not sure the name there.
Hi there. My name's Nicole Nugent. I'm curator of education at the Mackenzie Art Gallery in Regina. And thinking about all things arts and learning, obviously I wanted to be here mostly as a listener to hear about what everyone else is experiencing, but we'll likely chime in with any comments as well and questions. So many new things.
Right. Great, thank you. Sophia.
Hi there, from Saskatchewan. I am the arts ed consultant for Regina Catholic Schools, and we're trying to navigate how we're going to be offering our choral programs, our band programs, arts education, which, you know, we're in a subject area that human connection is key. So we are here to listen and see what we can do collectively.
Great, thank you. Sharon.
Hi there, my name is Sharon Burns. I'm the Indigenous Learning Consultant at Living Sky School Division. So I work up out of North Battleford and have a region of town and urban rural schools. I work in lots to do with the arts and using the arts as a bridge with culture and just ways of understanding the world and ways of knowing. So I think right now my work has been mostly about finding those online resources and also creating some new resources so that people have ways to engage and interact and be curious and have some fun while learning. So that's where I am. Nice to meet everybody.
Great, thank you. Tammy.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kosterski. I'm a dance educator in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. I have my dance studio here, as well as I work with the schools here with their arts education program when needed. And I'm currently doing a master's in arts education. So working through this while doing arts education has been a new beginning, but also having this while we're going through that education has been interesting, I guess. Added a whole new dimension. So I'm interested to see what other people are doing in their platforms and knowing what this world is going to look like on the other side.
Right, thank you. And Carrie.
I'm Carrie Pengilly, and I'm from Yorkton, Saskatchewan, and I'm the artistic director for Free My Muse Theatre Company. and we run a theater school for young people. And I too am very interested in what it's going to look like on the other side. We have just put together our online classes, and we've been teaching online classes since we first began. And it's been an incredible learning curve as a teacher. And I feel, having had the opportunity to learn some of the things that I've learned doing this, I would have never had that chance. And so I've been trying to focus on some of that these are gifts that we've been given as teachers to try these new things. And certainly we are definitely wondering how things are going to look. So it's nice to see all of you. Thank you for the ideas you're already sharing.
Great, thank you, Carrie. And I think we got everyone who's got their video on. Again, if you'd like to take part, please do turn on your video. So we're going to jump in then to our first question, which is having experienced the extended physical distancing and in light of measures now being taken to reopen society, how have you been faring in delivery of your programs? So again, at this point, either virtually raise your hand through the raise hand option under the participants tab there, or wave if you'd like to start off the conversation. Let us know how you've been doing in delivering your programs or working with your students so far, what programs you've been using, etc., and how it's been working for you. Anybody want to start us off? Yes, Sophia.
Well, within our school division, there's a lot of uncertainty because, of course, even our senior admin at that level are uncertain as to what the fall is going to look like. We just announced this past week that school indeed will not be in to the end of this year. So my primary concern right now are our choral and band programs in our school division. The whole concept of singing and how we are going to do that. Canceling choral and canceling band is not an option in my view. So I have been in contact with our teachers talking about not, if, but how we're going to do this, and to put out a strategic plan of how our choral programs can function. We can teach choral, we can teach band, but this is how we're going to do it. Because eliminating the arts, which, as you know, some places have done that, there will be no arts programming, specifically in the States, or phys ed, which I think is a huge mistake. And it's my job to advocate that the arts need to survive here. We have in the past, and we will. So we need guidance as to how we're going to do that. We are not permitted to use Zoom with our students. So a lot of our teachers are doing a lot of one-on-one stuff with kids. We have kids in our band programs that don't have an instrument because we were the ones providing the instrument. All the instruments had to be gathered and so forth. So then how do we, offer programming that way? The other one is I am applying, we have a wonderful organization, the Saskatchewan Arts Board here in Saskatchewan, which have been wonderful. And we are applying for a residency for 2 artists to work in our schools, and we are going to be creating online, we're calling it Beyond COVID. So delivering the arts, and I see this as a positive thing. It's an opportunity of delivering the arts into homes, and how you can do this online, and how we can, reach parents and speak to parents in their class, in their own homes, saying the importance of the arts and how the arts are not an enrichment. I have a problem with that. The arts are a way of knowing, a way of teaching. And so we are applying for this grant so that we can infuse the artists into our classrooms. But, in terms of, I think we're just hanging and of course, I see three of our choral teachers, 4 of them on this talk, and if they want to chime in, but we're just doing what we can with what we have in a very uncertain space. And we're really watching to see what is everyone else doing? How are you going to structure this? How can we structure this with the school, within our schools? And how can we become unified within our country to come up with, you know, a structure that will work for our kids? And because I don't even know if we're going to open in September. I don't know. And if this is going to happen until, you know, January, I mean, our Christmas concerts, our band concerts, all of that, I don't want to eliminate it. How can we provide that experience and learning opportunity for our kids? Sorry, I went on too long. I can keep talking, but
No, that's great. That's great. Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in there? Yes, Krista.
So we're governed by the University of Regina. So all of our group programs got canceled in mid-March, and all of our private lessons got suspended. And so our teachers, we've been talking to our teachers to see what they're doing. Many of them are using Zoom to teach privately online, but Zoom is not a great platform for music, as you probably already know, for a variety of reasons. They're finding their best workarounds, but our challenge is how, I mean, it's some of the same as Sophie. How do we do orchestra? How do we do choir in the fall? One of our big programs is we run 8 weeks of day camp through the summer. We are currently working on putting that online. And so rather than being what is essentially childcare for some people, as well as arts learning, it's now a, you know, kind of 2 hours a day where we're going to Zoom in, and again we're on Zoom, to somebody's house and have small groups gathering for kids to talk to each other, and then have activities for them to do in between their meetings. But we're struggling with musical theater, so I'd be curious to know what the dance studios are doing, because we have a large musical theater program. How do we do that again in the fall? How do we do any of our group programs on the fall? It's, you know, with music and dance, or I don't know about, not so much the dance, the choreography part, but certainly the music piece is challenging. You can't sing together on Zoom. The few programs we've heard about are, you know, require you to be over the age of 13 to have a membership. We work primarily with children who are under 13. So those are the things we're wrestling with right now, and we don't have answers yet, but certainly we're thinking a lot about it.
Great, thank you. Anyone else on what they're currently doing, or what they're wondering about, if anyone or if anyone has a response to either Sophia or Krista? Yes, Tammy.
So we're using Zoom, but I know what you mean, Krista. Like, there is a lag and there is a delay. So we basically, as soon as we were shut down, we weren't actually shut down right away, but we followed the school's guidance, and we finished March 16th. We took a week to kind of learn the platform of Zoom and Google Classroom and all those things that we needed to implement. And we found great success. Of course, we started and have just kind of learned as we went. We couldn't work through choreography because it just wasn't they weren't going to feel success. It was more frustration. But we were able to work on specific techniques. We've also utilized the breakout rooms, and Carrie can probably speak about that as well, that we found great success in that area, because then we're allowing children to work on that learning to learn aspect. So they're not being spoon-fed, that sometimes when we're working on product rather than the process, that we're getting them ready for that show or a competition or exam or whatever's happening in the dance studio world. We're so focused on that end result. And I think that's been one of the trying things for us, is we don't have this end result that we're getting. But so we've been focusing more on the process, and we've been focusing on specific technique things. And like I said, using the breakout rooms to work on more of that peer feedback has been really helpful. So like Carrie had said, we've actually learned even better ways, not better, but more ways of teaching and develop more skills as an educator and allow the students to develop more skills too. So I don't know, Carrie, if you want to talk about your breakout rooms and what you're doing there.
I can, yeah. It's for us, we also have a musical theater program, and our musical theater program, we did 3 more classes, and we didn't actually do any of the voice side of it. We did the character development work, and we talked about the characterography side of it. And then we played a little bit, even just starting with scales, and like everyone is saying with Zoom, which is what we're using too, it just didn't feel right. It wasn't giving us the sound we wanted. Anything that was solo based was more comfortable, but they couldn't do anything that was choral without it sounding really funny to them. And we spent more time dealing with figuring out who had which leg where, and that wasn't worth it for us to spend all of that time. Instead, we wanted to be able to focus on characters, which of course is a valid and important part of musical theater. So that was where our focus was, and we said we would pick up our next classes in a different way when we knew what that looked like. For our acting and theater classes and all of our rehearsals, we definitely love the breakout rooms because we're doing Peter Pan right now. And so I can have my pirates in one room with one director, and I can be working with my lost children in this one, and then they can come together to show what they've worked on. It's been challenging in anything that has interaction with each other, and that would be the same with dance, with music, anything where you're wanting a connection with another character or person. And so we've been partnering them up, because when we're all looking at this gallery format, we can see that you're all looking at me, but you can't tell if someone's looking at you. And so we would partner them so that they were looking at one person all the time, because then they were able to have those interactions with each other. And then the next class, we partner them differently, so they always know someone is looking and reacting with them. It made it feel more holistic as a process. But the breakout rooms have been what we have focused most on when it comes to classes. I can put them in partners, and they can create scenes and come back and work together. And then I can go into the breakout rooms and work with them separately. So for us, and I recognize that isn't a solution for the music side of things, but for us, it's been really useful in continuing all of our acting classes and any of our collective creation, and then our theater work too. So we're still able to do our actual big productions that way. Thank you, Tammy, for leading me into that.
Oh, that's really interesting to hear that side of things. Yeah. Anyone else in terms of how you're coping right now, and platforms that you might be using, or any kind of response to who's spoken so far? And someone is asking about any apps or programs that let us sing and play together without the lag. Yesterday, actually in our BC one, there was somebody had mentioned a program called Jam Kazam, I don't know, and there was another one, but of course everybody has to have the same capability. And actually, Caitlin, might be a good time. Caitlin has been kind of researching all of these different platforms and listing a number of resources on our website. I don't know if you want to go in, and if you have any specific insight on any of those programs.
Unfortunately, all of the programs that I've learned of so far that are like music, audio, I don't think they would work particularly well, like when you're working with like young kids who don't necessarily have their own like specialized AV equipment and instruments at home. They're all tend to be geared towards like professional musicians, or on like one-on-one music teacher student type thing. So I'm afraid I don't think there's a perfect situation. The lag issue, and like someone said, it also depends really heavily on access to half-decent internet connectivity, which is also kind of an accessibility issue across the board for kids everywhere. But nonetheless, I'm going to share a link to the resources that we have compiled on our website so far from the last 10 webinars that we conducted, and all the information that we gathered there from the resources that people are using and sharing to collaborate. There's also some funding information there for artists and organizations. Yeah, and if there's any other like programs that get mentioned in this talk, I will be sure to include them.
Great, thank you. And yes, Nicole.
I have a question about the relationship between arts organizations and educators at this time. I'm wondering if in your conversations that you've had with other representatives across the country, how those connections are happening. Do you see that arts organizations are working with teachers based on existing relationships, or do you see arts educators reaching out to organizations now, and where does that point of connectivity happen? Because I'm thinking about it from a bigger, not a bigger, but a bit of a broader view in terms of how organizations can support arts educators in schools and in, you know, in the isolated way that we're working right now. And I feel stumped.
Mm-hmm. Well, yesterday we were speaking with Alberta. I wonder if it kind of differs province to province as well. So yesterday in Alberta, a lot of people were mentioning that there is, I think it's only 2 hours that the teachers are allowed to teach every day, and it has to be only on literacy and numeracy. They're not allowed to do anything else. So I don't know if that's, so that's not how, no, okay. So that's, it would be good if there was room for other subjects, but a lot of the artist educators are trying to do the arts integration. So trying to get the arts in that way currently. So it is, from what we've been hearing so far, and we've only had 2 days so far, this is our third one, other than that initial series that we had at the very onset of the pandemic. So far what we've been hearing is that there hasn't been a lot of space yet for arts and for artist educators working within with the teachers and whatnot. Sharon, did you
Jennifer, Jennifer,
yeah.
I was thinking that maybe Nisa would have some, she wrote the report on the last, are you there, Nisa? Maybe you could just say a word about, did we find beginnings of reaching out and partnerships and collaboration in the last set of them?
Let me just pull up the report right now. With collaborations, not too much. I know that there were some, my goodness, where is it? There it is. I know that there were some organizations who had been talking about collaborating with each other, working with each other, wanting to reach out, but nothing too big there, from what I can find so far.
Yeah, and that was kind of at the onset of everything. So this is why we're finding out what's happening right now at this after several months, to see if there have been collaborations happening. And yes, Sharon.
I'm sure that every school division is a bit different in what they're choosing for priorities. We were not given a provincial-wide mandate of how many hours you can be teaching or doing this or that, but each school division has been trying to kind of be in alignment with one another, I guess, to say that we don't want to overwhelm our families. We're trying to limit how much time you're expecting students to be in a meeting online or whatever, or how many projects that you might do. But in our school division, for example, it's literacy and numeracy for sure, but it's also wellness and STEAM. So we're looking at, how people move and the arts and integrations and cross-curricular kinds of things, with trying to encourage collaborations that would happen throughout a school, so that a family, some of the things we're considering is that as a family, and my kids going to a school, I could have multi-age kids involved in some similar projects at home, and not having, I could be a parent at home. I'm using my computer all day. I've got a 5-year-old that's got a Zoom meeting, and then I've got on and on and on. I've got 5 kids, and they all have to have their time. So we're trying to make it better for the families and being really specific to what they need. I would say that the schools have been quite, in our school division anyways, have been really creative in trying to engage kids with more kind of arts activities and finding ways to, I don't know, share things that are online as well, any kind of resources. So whenever we're sent something from one of the organizations, then we share that with our teachers and we put it on our website so that families might be able to access it directly, or as a teacher, you might be able to use that resource. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to think about ways that we're not just taking what we teach and putting it online. We're trying to think about new ways of how to be online together. So yeah, it looks different, for sure it does. We have to be really innovative. But to me, it seems like we're probably going to focus more on things like sharing how we document our work and then sharing it and having some kind of platforms where we can engage with each other and, you know, perhaps building portfolios that we share online or whatever. It becomes a bit more solo for sure. But, you know, finding the power in that, I guess, and what we can learn from it. I think from my perspective, our schools would be very open to hearing from any of the arts organizations in Saskatchewan, particularly if you've got something that you can connect to the arts education outcomes. You know, teachers will be all over that. They would love it.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Sophia.
So I echo Sharon down here in Regina in the southern part of Saskatchewan. We're in the same thinking realm. The one thing that I had happen immediately is the Regina Symphony Orchestra has been phenomenal in terms of getting right on, like for our teachers, because we're involved in what we call a link-up program with Carnegie Hall. And so they started sending out educational information and so forth, links and websites and you name it that we could use to educate, help our teachers provide some arts education to their students. So the Regina Symphony as a I'd say arts organization that's a partner did that immediately, but they reached out to us, which was wonderful. And so we invite that from all organizations now. We have other organizations within our city that are working hard on trying to find a way to connect as well. But this uncertainty has made it very difficult to know how much to do and which way to go. So our approach has been do it anyway, as if you were going to use it within COVID or not. It's an opportunity to expand our arts in a different way. And I don't think that's a bad thing. So I really encourage that with our teachers, and I encourage other arts organizations to come on in, and then we'll look at it. Like Sharon said, it is a priority and a primary concern of how we're overwhelming parents who have many things going on in their homes that we don't even know about, and trying to juggle everything. So the message to our teachers in Regina Catholic is, be careful not to do too much. Plan as much as you can, but be careful with how much we put out there. We don't want to overwhelm parents. In the same sense, and in the same way, what I don't want to see happen, and I mean we see it from some of the people and neighbors down south, is scrapping the arts and phys ed entirely, and that scares me. That really, really scares me. I don't want to see that. That's, conversations that I've had with my band and choral. It's not if, it's how. How are we going to do this? That alarms me a lot. I don't want that to be a trend, and that's why we need your support, and we need to be collegial about this and across our country. And we need help to make sure that does not start becoming the norm. I know numeracy and literacy are primary, but the arts deliver numeracy and literacy all the time. So we need to show how we're going to continue to do that on this, in this platform, in this way.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else have anything to add on this particular question? All right, well, next is just in terms of personal well-being, and currently how have you been faring with maintaining your personal well-being, and also either the teams that you're working with, if there's initiatives happening there, or your students, or any kind of personal well-being initiatives that you've undertaken throughout these measures that have been going on. Anybody have anything to add on that? Any students? Yeah, Sophia. Yeah.
Sorry to dominate. Well, I'll tell you what, we have webinars. Personally, I'm taking online course through Coursera, and it's on well-being from Yale University. So our HR department has encouraged a lot of well-being activity to be happening for all teachers. As a matter of fact, we have a work plan that we have to submit once a week. And on the work plan, that is exactly the question that you just asked. That's on there. What are you doing for your personal well-being and mental health? And you have to do something. Like, you need to fill in that area. So it sort of, you know, gives you that opportunity to say, yes, this is very important. You need to make time for it. So I highly recommend the course through Yale University. I think it's called the Focus on Wellbeing or something like that. But it is a wonderful program. And I've spoken to my teachers, some of our teachers, about that. But the opportunity that our HR has given us and put it into the work plan as a question or as an area that you have to fill out gives our teachers the permission to spend time there, and sets that environment up and that culture of how important that is to our teachers as well as our students and our parents. So I don't know what others are doing in that sense, or if you have work plans or anything, but that's how we're structuring.
That's fantastic. That's very proactive. Any other organizations have anything like that kind of in place, or any kind of weekly meetings or anything like that that you're working on to maintain connection and well-being with your colleagues or your students, or, well, students, I'm sure. We kind of handled that in the last question, but yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, we kind of wanted to check in and see how you are doing. Like last time we came across the country, people were not doing well. People were very confused and anxious. And are you still anxious? Are you able to, like, are things really bothering you, or are we settling into the new normal already?
Yes, Nicole. Oh, sorry, you're muted here.
Sorry. A survey popped up on my, a Zoom survey popped up while we were, anyways. I can't speak to the experience of working within a classroom, of course. I'm in an arts organization context. And I wasn't a part of the last conversation, but I've been quite plugged in with the Canadian Art Gallery educators for visual art in art museums across Canada, and it's a real mixed bag in terms of how everyone is doing within art education and museums across the country. There's a lot of busy work that's happening. This is my personal observation, is that there's a lot of time being spent creating work and activities and art engagements out of potentially out of fear and anxiety of being laid off, of appearing not essential to their organizations. There's a lot of work that I think is not necessary. The support for using this time to be reflective, to research, to heal, to connect isn't widely felt. I would venture to say, and with colleagues across the country in arts organizations, there are some that are superstars who are creating very supportive cultures. Sophia, it's so heartwarming to hear that that's actually a part of the work plans. That hasn't been my experience. There are, like, arts organizations are just trying to survive, and what survival is success right now for so many of us. So that's meant that we can't be proactive with our well-being. It creates a more difficult situation for us to be able to prioritize that and focus on that. And I don't blame our organizations for not being able to necessarily prioritize that type of thinking. I wish they all would, but it's been really difficult. It's just, are we going to even have a job? So it's a way different conversation now. Like, stress levels look so different than they did. I went from like being so busy and not knowing which end was up to like hitting a brick wall, and the stress level's the same, but the activity doesn't look the same. And I'm wondering if other people feel that as well.
Yeah, Krista.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Nicole. I work in an art gallery museum in Moose Jaw, and we don't know if our city politicians are going to cut our core funding to keep us hired, and then that trickles down to the grants that we have through Canada Council and other agencies. And I believe the Ellen Sapp Gallery in North Battleford, they're going to have to close their doors completely because they just don't have, they have to return their funding to where they're getting the funds from. So yeah, I've been really busy right from the beginning, going from having school groups come and visit, and then that's not happening, and then directing all my energy towards website. We only have myself who does website design. We don't have a big enough staff to have a communication person. So just trying to put online engagement information and online exhibitions, and learning how to use YouTube, and working with Instagram and all kinds of platforms that I've never had the opportunity, because I've always been in the class doing hands-on stuff. So just trying to learn different platforms and trying to navigate through this crazy world, and just from our conversation here, realizing that there won't be probably classes in the fall. Like, we're not going to have classes engaging in the exhibition spaces, and how are we going to navigate through this world?
Mm-hmm. Thanks. And Krista, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I've been talking to a lot of our private lesson instructors over the last 2 weeks, and it's a real mixed bag. So some people remain very, very anxious and very, very nervous about the health aspects, but it's a bit of a challenge in Regina, partly because we have very low numbers. So we don't currently have any active cases of COVID-19 in Regina. So it's this weird thing where we're all social distancing and we're all shut in our houses, and yet where is this disease? It's in the northern part of the province, but it's not here. And so as I've been talking to teachers, what I get is a real mix between the people that are very anxious and the people that are like, oh, we could probably go back now and we'd all be fine. So it's totally a mixed bag in terms of what people are feeling, but also not understanding the risks. Like I said, we're part of the university, and so for us, it's not just can you teach one-on-one, but what's the research telling us about like singing and spreading disease? If somebody comes in with COVID and sings in a group of 60 people, what are the implications of that? And so there's this very up and down kind of thing where yes, we can do, you can maintain your personal well-being and I'm feeling good this morning, and then something else comes across the news feed and you're like, oh, now we have to think about that too. And so it's like a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you. And Sharon, did you have your hand up as well? Mm-hmm.
Just something I was thinking about for the fall, I guess, Christy, when you were speaking about, what's going to happen in the fall if we don't have kids to come through our exhibitions. I wonder if this isn't an opportunity for organizations to just rethink how they could offer things. Like you talked about your online exhibitions, for example. So we could still call them virtual tours, right? A virtual tour that has, you go through and you see it in this order. Maybe you stop and you engage with a painting, or you do this activity and maybe it connects to that outcome, and then you go on to the next, and maybe you make something and then you put it up in a showcase. Like I would think there would be ways for the galleries to respond to what the schools are going to need. Because in the fall, assuming if we are not back, or we're back in a limited kind of way, it might be small groups of kids at the school and then whatever, we don't know. But we do know that learning is going to be coming back on. So right now learning is optional. Nobody has to do any learning. All of our reporting is done. So there's no expectation about that. In the fall, that's a different story. Right? And so then teachers are going to be really looking, okay, how am I supposed to make my learning engaging and meaningful? And what do I got for resources that I can tap into? I think that would be a perfect place for all of the arts organizations if they could be prepared to say, here's what we can give you in a virtual kind of way. And they would have to pay for it, I'm assuming, however that works out, I don't know. But I would not lose hope. If I were you, I think that this could be a really strong opportunity. And coming from North Battleford, I'm incredibly disappointed that both the Chapel Gallery and the Alum Sap are closed down right now, and everybody's laid off. But I hadn't heard anything about them actually closing the gallery and the museum. So I really hope that's not true. I'd like to find out, because maybe that means as educators, we need to be making a loud voice on behalf of people like the Mackenzie Gallery, all of the different places out there that can support us in a virtual way. Maybe as teachers and educators, we need to be making a really loud case for how much we're going to need you guys, because I think we're going to need you a lot.
Thank you, Sharon. Yes, Nicole.
Sharon, thank you so much for mentioning that. I really appreciate that comment, mostly selfishly because you confirmed my hunch and the plans I've been making for the fall to try to mirror our current existing tour program and think about how that can be facilitated digitally in classrooms, and to think about how we can support teachers when they're in the classroom, assuming that they're not going to have the ability to leave the school easily. I don't know what that's even going to look like in terms of being able to go on a field trip. That feels like a really far, it feels like a unicorn right now. So I'm not even thinking about that, thinking about how to offer other opportunities for facilitated arts engagement, because I have this hunch that teachers are still going to need that support. And so how can we still provide really great experiences of art, whether it is talking about digital art or talking about the exhibitions we have in the gallery, thinking about how to experience the themes and ideas and concepts in the classroom and create a bridge. Something live and facilitated and really exciting, but that mirrors our existing interpretive methodology and still supports that experience. So I'm going to keep working on that because you just totally seconded the need for that. So that's great. Thank you.
It's great, thank you. And actually, Larry, this is bleeding into your second question here. The second question, I don't know if you want to formally
This is all food. You're like, talk about segues. You people are very good at segues for our questions here. Because I'm going to ask you about the future. And you've all, 2 or 3 of you have really addressed the question of what is the future going to be. So, but I'm going to ask you what, okay, various people have done various things digitally. I know some people have done other interesting things non-digitally as well. I walk down the street when I take my dog for a walk, and there's a family who has an easel out on the sidewalk every day with a little saying, and all the words start with the same letter, and it's brought to you by the letter or something or other. Obviously some homeschooling going in there, and they're just sticking out on the street. I read them every day. I'm sure everybody else going along the street reads them. It's part of what they're doing. But I guess we're thinking mostly digital. And so the question is, okay, we've all been thrust into this. We're all using the technology as best we can, and we're trying to find new platforms. Let's imagine that this is all over in 1 year, I don't know, 2 years. Okay, how much of that digital footprint do you think you're going to retain? Or are you going to go, oh, thank goodness, we can finally get together and forget all that digital stuff? Or, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what kind of commitment people have to it. Is it like now it's a good thing? So what, and also, and this is probably tied right in, so I'm just going to make the whole question. What about your on-site activities? Are they going to be different? Are they going to be the same? Or are they going to be different as we come back? And you've already been talking about how to impact the, help your students and your colleagues. So I think it's really more a case of, okay, just imagine you have a crystal ball as best you can. What do you think is going to happen to the sector on-site and online in, say, a year?
Great, yes, Nicole. Sorry, Nicole, I don't know. You're frozen, or maybe it's my computer that's frozen. Oh, we lost Nicole. Oh, there she is, back again.
Oh my goodness, my Wi-Fi. I'm so sorry. That was the worst timed raise hand. Did I miss anything?
No, go ahead. Did you have anything to add to that?
Yes.
What Larry was saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a couple things, and then I will be quiet because I came here mostly to listen, but I am thinking about doing, offering these digital tours alongside options to come and visit the gallery with your group if you can. So they're together. They obviously opportunities to see real works of art. That's a super huge priority for me, and I hope that we can figure out how to do that and keep that opportunity alive and well. The digital options, for me, how initially I was really resistant to it because the real thing, there was like a real shift that needed to happen in my soul, actually, which has been a really difficult transition for me personally through this whole thing. But now I really get it. I see opportunities for digital engagement as not just a bridge, but as access too. So there are teachers that can't get their kids out of the classroom. There are limitations with paying for buses. There are all of these things that we've been talking about forever. And being able to, I don't see this as a short-term fix. And Larry, I was thinking too, when you're like, when this is all over And I actually don't even know that like that's even possible. Like this isn't going to be over even after COVID is gone. We're going to be still faced with, we're never going to lose the transformation that's happening, right? We're transforming, all of us, in terms of how we engage students with the world around them, how we all interact with the world. So this is sticking forever. And I think that our transition to incorporating digital engagement as a tool is going to stay. I think it needs to continue to be a priority, and also not lose sight of the fact that we do need to continue to create opportunities for students to experience the real thing when we are able to safely do so. And I know we've actually completely changed how we're even curating shows. One of many, we're looking at distance apart from artworks, obviously how to safely manage groups within the gallery space, all of that, those conversations, the way we curate will completely change and has changed already with this whole thing. So we'll be thinking differently about how we're working with groups, but that's for safe, like in terms of safety, but we always want to keep that opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. Yes, Sophia.
So first of all, to your first question, Larry, in terms of the footprint, definitely going to retain it. Definitely. Going to encourage our teachers that, and I'm doing it right now, some of our arts education teachers who are building units, I go, okay, you've got this lesson in this unit. Now I want to see a second part that is going to, what would this look like online? Add that. We're going to keep that. I think is very, very important. A lot of our schools are rural. We don't get the opportunity. It's seldom that they get the opportunity to be, you know, at the Mackenzie Art Gallery or to have an artist come out, whether it's music, drama, dance, or visual art. How do we reach them? We have a live arts program here in our province that can do that, but and we're looking and working with that. We've also contacted, Sharon and I had a meeting with the ministry talking about when we create all this stuff, or in these episodes that I'm planning to do with these artists, what portal can it live on, so that teachers and parents and whoever can have access to that. So that's been exciting, really exciting, that we're going to have a place where we're going to extend learning in a digital sense. But having said that, to your second question, what about on-site activities? We will get back to on-site activities. We will have Christmas concerts. We will have band concerts. Yes, we will. This virus has changed our behaviors. Yes, it's going to stick. I agree with Nicole. We're going to be better. We are going to be better on the other side. And we will not give up our choral concerts and our band concerts and our art exhibits and all that stuff that makes us human, that everyone is craving. Kids are saying, we want to come back to school, okay? What are our teachers saying? And I've heard it over and over again. I feel so guilty. I don't feel like I'm earning my pay. I don't feel like I'm earning my pay into teaching. And what do I say to them? I say, stop and take a moment. It's okay. It's all right. Give yourself permission. But that's how they're feeling. Yes, we're going to retain. We should. We should not create anything right now that we can't retain past COVID-19. Everything we create within your organizations, arts organizations and in schools, everything we create should be something that we can use beyond this with the stuff we're already doing. But are we going to have on-site activities? Oh yeah, kids are going to play football again. I'm going to hear the beautiful voices of our choral programs singing at Christmas concert. It will happen. There's no discussion about, oh, we're eliminating that from now on. It's not an option. And we all have to agree with that. And I love what Sharon said with Nicole too. We're going to need you. We need the arts organizations, and we're going to need you in the fall, and we need to create stronger bonds, because we don't have strong bonds. That's a fact. We do not have the strong bonds that we should have. Saskatchewan Drama Association, Mackenzie Art Gallery, Regina Symphony Orchestra, the Globe Theatre, Opera Saskatchewan. This is where we have an opportunity. There has been a break in the sidewalk and a crack. So let's fill it and make it stronger. I know I'm very passionate here because, well, we're in the arts and we're passionate. And we're teachers, and we believe in human connection. And I mean, I'm telling you, kids want to go back to school. This is cool. I think it's great that we want to go back to school. I'm not going to bury my head in the sand and grieve and, oh my goodness, look what's happened to us. Oh my God. I want to look at the other, what has this brought to us? How has this changed? 9/11 happened, we changed how we flew, how we fly. We've changed a lot of things. It's an opportunity. My husband owns a restaurant here in the city. You want to talk about changes? When you are supposed to be 6 feet apart from each other I mean, you go to a restaurant to socialize, okay? So you have to be creative, and we in the arts, that's the name of the game, creativity. So please connect with us, educators. We need you. We need you. Do not give up. Find another way. We can help lend our voice, like Sharon said, because we cannot do this alone. I don't believe we're on the same boat. We're in the same storm, different boats, but we can all, work on helping each other get stronger here. But the message will come from us. And if you need a letter of some sort of support from the education sector, whether it's our school division, from an arts ed consultant or whoever, to your arts organization folks who provide the funding, to say, we need this. CBC is looking for content, right? All the time. So, I mean, anyway, I'll be quiet. No, I won't, but that's my 2 cents on that one.
Thank you. That's great. Anyone else have anything to say about kind of what the future holds, what it looks like in a year or so, whether digital or in person? Any kind of, yes, Tammy.
I think that it's going to be a gradual change myself. I think that I know just in conversation with other dance studios in that sector is no one really knows what is going to happen in the fall as far as numbers. So how many children can you have in an area? In some, some businesses or some organizations, you can wear a mask. A child is not going to be able to wear a mask in a dance class. So there's some discussion about, is this going to be half of them are coming to the studio and half of them are doing it online, and then the next week it's switching, or there's all kinds of talk. I really wish that our industry, or I don't know if this can come through this organization, in that what is the information we're going on? Like, I think that the schools, for example, are going to have information coming down the pipe and letting them know this is what you are required to do. I think our sector as a private business in a dance studio, we're always wondering what our requirements are going to be and looking for advice from the healthcare professionals. I think, for example, where our place is stage 4 in the Open Up Saskatchewan, yet gyms are stage 3, and I'm not sure why that difference is. I think my guess is that the dance studio just kind of got lost in the shuffle. I think it's actually okay because we can see how this is going to roll out and make sure our children and our families are safe. But I just don't want to see the dance sector get lost in the shuffle when they're thinking about requirements and what we need to do to keep our families safe. So I think it's going to be a mix, and then hopefully move into more in person. But I'm hoping that someone has some guidelines for us.
Thank you, and actually, it's not the first time that we've heard that, so that's definitely something that we're looking into as a potential resource. Yes, Sharon.
Just really quickly, I would also say that make friends with somebody at your local school division. Just get to know somebody there, find out who you can talk to, because schools are kind of finding things out, or divisions are finding things out, week by week. It's changing all the time, and they're trying not to speculate too far into the future, but we have to kind of, right? So they're looking at scenarios. Yeah, but I would say just get to know somebody at one of the school divisions, wherever you are, and keep in touch with them. They can feed you what's going on, help you plan.
And we do, like we are doing that for sure, but it's just looking for that official, because it is a little bit tricky when you're talking about activity and movement and stuff. So yeah, but thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Sophia.
Just Tammy, on your comment about being stage 3, is it, or 2? What are you, 4? 4? The reason gyms are going in 3 is what I was told. You can only offer one-on-one private. So you can't have group classes. You can do one-on-one. And so perhaps dance studios.
No, we were told private lessons included. Yeah, even private lessons are not allowed till stage 4.
And even though you did indicate that gyms are going to be doing the one-on-one.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I haven't heard.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, and I haven't heard that the gyms are just one-on-one. I just heard that it's gyms, but I haven't investigated that. I really just kind of.
Our trainer said it's the one-on-one that they're allowing. That's what he said anyway. And he owns a gym here in the city.
Yeah, dance studios were told absolutely no, even private lessons. So I don't know why.
Yes, Krista.
Tammy, I just want to say I really appreciated the thought of having a half class come in one week and the other half come the next, because that actually offers me some things to think about for the fall. But I think you're right. I think it's not just that I want guidelines from how do we do this, but it's also that the science is changing so fast. And so they're still learning how people even get infected. And so it's not only I need a guideline, but I also need to know where to get the most reliable and up-to-date information, which is very tricky right now, because before last week, I didn't think singing was going to be any more of a problem than any of the other instruments we teach. And then all of a sudden there's a webinar, and suddenly you have to be 15 feet apart from the singer beside you. And it's like, I don't have rooms that big. What are we going to do? And you have to worry about airflow. And I'm like, seriously? So those are the things, that's where the anxiety and the uncertainty comes. Do I think we're going to be different? Yes. Will we stay digital? We will keep some things digital, but it's also, how do I get the best information I can find? Yeah.
Great, thank you. Anyone else have anything to add at this point? Well, wow, it's been a fantastic conversation, and so very different. Every region is so very different. Larry, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I just was thinking the same thing. It's like it's a huge education for us to go across the country. And everybody's at different stages. And I think Alberta has 3 stages. You have 5, I think. 4, and then we have. I think we're going to have. Well, we'll find out today, but I think we have 3 or something. So it's very interesting. I mean, it's a horrible thing that's happening to us in many ways, but it's incredibly interesting how people find ways to be resilient and think of alternatives. And yeah, it's really, it's kind of inspirational. So thank you all very much for, you're all the frontline workers in a different stage, but thank you very much for taking part. And we will for sure share a report about this later, and we will try to figure out what's going on in the field. And I think what's most important at this point is what we've been doing here today is finding out, oh, you're doing that. Oh, we could go, oh, maybe that is possible. All right. So we're doing that on a national level. And I think when, then I think in that way, these different stages don't matter so much. It's more a case of what's happening in your place. And then these are the principles we're trying to follow to keep our arts and learning alive. So just thank you, and really great talking with you. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much.
Can I add one last thought? Just to remember that the pandemic in the 1600s birthed the Renaissance.
Yeah. Okay, maybe we can have a Renaissance.
It could be a Renaissance for us.
It could be.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Great. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll be following up. And please do keep us in the loop with what you're doing. We will be offering more of these likely in the upcoming months, so that we can continue to follow what everyone's doing, and we'll try to let you know what's happening across the country as well. And we'll be publishing that report, as Larry says. So we'll definitely keep in touch. And as I said, don't hesitate to contact us if you need us to spread the word about programs that you're offering digitally, or if you want to let us know about something that's working for you that others might find helpful. We definitely want to know all of that information. So thank you so much, and have a good rest of the day.